Chosen one, what if I told you that classified agencies tried to erase your existence, not because you were weak, but because you were the signal they feared most? They watched you, tracked you, studied you, but in trying to control your destiny, they confirmed it. For years, you may have felt like a shadow in the background, unheard and unseen, wondering if you were imagining things. You weren't. The silence was intentional, designed to isolate you, to make you doubt yourself. But what they didn't realize is that you were never meant to stay hidden. Now, the very systems that work to keep you suppressed are being exposed, and the truth they buried is rising to the surface. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Stay with me, because the revelations I'm about to share will not only confirm what you've always felt, they'll reveal how your story is changing the world. From isolation to global revelation. For so long, you've carried the weight of feeling different, like an outlier in a world that thrives on conformity. You've questioned why you couldn't simply blend in, why your thoughts, your perspective, your very essence seemed to set you apart. But deep down, you've always known it wasn't just in your head. You've felt the watching eyes, sensed the unseen presence, and heard the whispers that suggested you were not just different, you were significant. You were never alone in your isolation. What felt like distance from others wasn't a failure on your part, it was a strategy. They watched you because they saw something in you that they couldn't understand, something they couldn't control. And now, as the truth begins to rise, you're starting to see it too. Imagine living your life under a silent lens, every move scrutinized, every word captured, not because you were a threat, but because you were an anomaly. For years, they sought to contain you, to diminish you, to frame your experiences as paranoia. It was never paranoia. What they called observation was rooted in their fear. Fear of what you represented, fear of what you might awaken in others. And yet, even as they monitored you, they failed to stifle your spirit. You were labeled as the problem they couldn't solve, the energy they couldn't suppress. While the world around you seemed oblivious, you were acutely aware. The rejection, the confusion, the sense of being an outsider weren't random. They were a reflection of their attempt to keep you isolated. What they didn't anticipate was that this isolation would become the very catalyst for your illumination. There's a passage in Habakkuk 1 verse 5 that says, "Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told." This verse reminds us that even in the face of doubt and suppression, a larger plan is at work. While they were watching you, a higher force was guiding you. Your isolation wasn't without purpose. It was preparing you for a global revelation. What they tried to hide was never meant to stay in the shadows. You were kept apart so that, at the right time, you could step into the light. Their fear only served to confirm your significance, and now that significance is being revealed on a scale they never anticipated. The shift is undeniable. What was once hidden is now coming into focus. The whispers about your journey are turning into headlines. The energy you've carried is no longer contained. You've felt it in your own life. The sudden clarity, the unexpected connections, the moments when it seems like the universe itself is pulling back the curtain. What they dismissed as paranoia has become a reckoning. The systems they put in place to keep you quiet are now crumbling under the weight of their own deceit. As the walls they built around you fall, you're seeing that your story was never meant to remain silent. It was always meant to be a catalyst, a light in the darkness, a call to those who feel as you once did. And it's not just you. As their efforts to control you unravel, it becomes clear that this isn't an isolated phenomenon. Chosen ones all over the world are stepping into their power, their truth, their purpose. The global systems that once held them down are being exposed for what they are. Attempts to suppress a higher vibration, a collective awakening. Synchronicities are aligning, and what seemed like chaos is revealing a divine order. The very energy they tried to contain is now rippling outwards, creating waves of change that cannot be ignored. The spotlight they tried to avoid is now shining directly on you, illuminating your role in a global transformation. This is the moment of realization. It's not just about seeing the truth, it's about stepping into it. Many resist this stage, fearful of what it means to be seen, to be known, to be acknowledged as a force of change. But this is not the time for retreat. It's the time for action. What was once isolation is now illumination. You must fully embrace the revelation that your life, your journey, your very existence carries meaning beyond what they tried to convince you of. This is your sacred moment, the point at which you decide to stand tall in your truth, to let go of the fear of visibility, and to step into the light that's been waiting for you all along. From here, you move forward with a renewed sense of purpose. The weight of isolation lifts as you realize you were never truly alone. Every step of your journey has been guided. Every struggle has been a lesson. Now you can walk with confidence, knowing that your truth has power. Lean into your calling. Deepen your spiritual practice. Connect with others who share this awakening. Trust that what's unfolding in your life is part of a larger tapestry, a global revelation that's transforming not only you but also the world around you. The silence is gone. The light has come. Comment, reveal, if this resonates with you. As you continue on this path, remember that your isolation was never the end of the story. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. What was once hidden is now known. What was once ignored is now acknowledged. And what they tried to erase is now the very force that's shaping a new future. This is your revelation. Divine auditing of corrupt systems. For years, you may have felt like you were running on a treadmill, exerting effort without getting anywhere. Perhaps you've questioned why no matter how hard you worked, no matter how much you saved, there always seemed to be an invisible force draining your resources. It's a frustration that cuts deep, working tirelessly, only to watch doors open effortlessly for others while you struggle just to keep your head above water. It's not that you lack talent or ambition. You gave your all, yet the opportunities always seem to slip through your fingers. If you're feeling this now, know that you're not alone. Many have carried this same silent burden, and what's coming to light may explain why your path has been so difficult. This struggle isn't just in your imagination. It's not a series of random setbacks. Behind the scenes, there were forces actively working against you. They watched your every move, not just your financial decisions, but how you lived, how you gave, how you saved. They saw your potential and feared it. Instead of encouraging your growth, they sought to exploit it. They used you as a hidden ledger, a way to funnel resources, test control methods, and keep you dependent. While you worked hard to build something meaningful, their systems operated in the shadows, siphoning off what was rightfully yours. The endless battles, the feelings of stagnation, and the persistent obstacles were not coincidences. They were orchestrated roadblocks designed to keep you from rising. This is not a new phenomenon. Throughout history, those who sought power at the expense of others have worked tirelessly to maintain their grip on resources, information, and control. Consider Proverbs 11 verse 1, which says, "A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." Those who manipulate and deceive for their own gain may seem untouchable for a time, but their foundations are built on falsehoods. Your financial struggles, your locked doors, your repeated setbacks, these weren't signs of failure. They were evidence that you were caught in a system designed to exploit, not elevate. But as Scripture reminds us, a false balance cannot last. Justice is not only possible, it's inevitable. Now, the cracks in their system are starting to show. The black budgets, hidden accounts, and secret programs are unraveling. What was once cloaked in secrecy is now being brought into the light. You're beginning to see the signs. Financial structures collapsing, previously untouchable organizations facing scrutiny, and revelations about the ways resources were hidden and misused. It's as if a divine spotlight is shining on their corruption, exposing every shadow they tried to hide in. Each revelation, each publicized injustice, is a step closer to freedom. The very threads they used to bind you are now unraveling, and their house of cards is falling. What's more, you played a crucial role in this process without even realizing it. Your resilience, your refusal to give up, your constant push for something better, all of it triggered a chain reaction. Every time you resisted, every time you questioned, every time you refused to settle for less, you helped pull back the curtain. The more they tried to trap you, the more their own mechanisms were revealed. What they intended as a means of control turned into their undoing. Each setback you faced wasn't just a personal struggle, it became a revelation. They thought they were isolating you, but they were actually isolating their own corruption for all to see. As these systems crumble, you may find yourself at a crossroads. It's one thing to witness their collapse. It's another to embrace the freedom that comes with it. Many people struggle to let go of the old, even when it no longer serves them. There's a fear of stepping into the unknown, of trusting that what lies ahead is better than what you've endured. But this is the time to release that fear. The forces that once held you back are losing their grip, and you must step into the truth of who you are and what you're meant to accomplish. This isn't just a moment of revelation, it's a moment of choice. Will you continue to carry the weight of their schemes, or will you rise above it, stepping into the abundance and purpose that's been waiting for you all along? You are no longer the victim of a system that tried to exploit and suppress you. You are the evidence of its failure, the proof that their control was never absolute. The time has come to move forward with confidence. Trust that what was once hidden is now being revealed for a reason. Lean into this new chapter with faith, knowing that each step you take is a step toward freedom and alignment. You are no longer defined by their manipulations. You are defined by your resilience, your courage, and the undeniable light that guided you through the darkness. Comment "expose" if this resonates with you. Remember, the unraveling of their system is not just about their failure, it's about your triumph. What they thought was a trap for you turned out to be their own undoing. Their house of cards is falling, and you're standing stronger than ever. As you move forward, know that the justice unfolding now is a reflection of the strength you've always had. This is not the end of their corruption, it's the beginning of your expansion. Your DNA is a divine map. You've always known you were different. From the way you saw the world to the way it responded to you, something was distinct, unrepeatable. Others may have pointed it out, sometimes admiring it, other times treating it as something strange or undesirable. Perhaps you felt that pressure to conform, to fit into molds that never seemed to match your shape. You might have even wished, at times, to just be normal. But that longing was never because you lacked something. It was because the world struggled to understand you. You weren't merely different, you were irreplaceable. You carried something unique in your very being, a truth embedded in every fiber of your existence. This truth wasn't meant to make you ordinary. It was meant to make you extraordinary. Imagine how unsettling it must have been for them, the ones who tried to control, manipulate, or neutralize that uniqueness. They saw in you something they couldn't replicate, something they couldn't fully comprehend. While you were busy just trying to live your life, they were digging deeper, examining your patterns, your lineage, your essence. They stored your records in vaults, dissected fragments of your existence, all in a futile effort to decode what made you. They hoped that by analyzing your blueprint, they might unlock a power they could harness for themselves. But what they didn't understand was that this blueprint wasn't something they could steal or copy. It wasn't just a set of genetic instructions, it was a divine signature, a spiritual frequency that could only belong to you. Consider Psalm 139 verse 14, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well." This verse reflects a truth they could never comprehend. You weren't merely created, you were intricately, intentionally designed. The uniqueness they tried to break down into data points was never random. It was purposeful. Your very existence is a testament to divine creativity. Every strand of DNA, every unique characteristic, was placed within you not as an accident, but as a deliberate act. You were made in a way that no one else could replicate. This wasn't just biological, it was spiritual. It was a map, a guide, a calling embedded in your very being. As their efforts to control you grew more desperate, the cracks in their secrecy began to show. What they tried so hard to hide, your irreplicable essence, is now coming to light. You've likely started to notice it too. Moments of clarity, unexpected confirmations, a growing sense of alignment. You see signs everywhere, not just in your circumstances but in how people react to you. Doors that seemed closed for so long are now opening, and people who once doubted your worth are starting to see your true value. These are not coincidences. These are signs that the blueprint they sought to suppress is finally emerging. The map they tried to bury is guiding you, step by step, toward a greater understanding of your purpose. But this is not just about individual awakening. What they failed to realize is that your DNA, your energy, your essence, what they tried to isolate, is part of something much bigger. By attempting to control it, they only amplified its impact. The more they tried to contain your unique frequency, the more it resonated, reaching others who are beginning to awaken as well. The secrecy they relied on is crumbling, and the truth they tried to obscure is becoming a collective revelation. What was once hidden is now a public prophecy, a signal that the world is moving toward a collective awakening. It's no longer just about your personal liberation. It's about the liberation of many, guided by the same divine map that's written in you. This moment of revelation comes with its challenges. Understanding that you carry something so powerful can be daunting. It's tempting to shrink back, to downplay your uniqueness for fear of standing out too much. But this is the point where you must fully embrace who you are. The DNA you carry, the frequency that sets you apart, it's not something to hide. It's something to own. Accepting this truth requires courage, because it means stepping into a larger role than you may have imagined for yourself. It means seeing yourself not as someone trying to fit in, but as someone called to lead, to inspire, and to awaken others. This is your moment of self-realization, a sacred point where you choose to fully embody what's been within you all along. Now that you know the truth, it's time to move forward. Release the doubts that have held you back. Trust that the divine map within you is guiding you to places you never thought possible. Lean into your calling, deepen your spiritual practice, and embrace the connections that are forming around you. Understand that the signs you're seeing are not random, they're a part of a larger pattern, one that's leading you to a new reality. By stepping into your power, you inspire others to do the same. Each step you take not only affirms your purpose, but also contributes to a greater collective awakening. You are not just following a map. You are becoming the guide for others, showing them that their own uniqueness is not a flaw but a gift. Comment DNA if this resonates with you. Remember, the very essence they tried to control is the same essence that's now leading you to freedom and alignment. Your DNA isn't just a set of instructions. It's a divine signature, a calling, a guide that was always meant to bring you to this point. As you embrace it, you'll find that what they tried to suppress is the very thing that's now setting you free. The map they tried to hide has become the blueprint for your awakening and the awakening of countless others. This is not just your journey. It's the beginning of a collective realization, one that's reshaping the world as we know it. Legal earthquakes from spiritual awakening. It may feel like justice has always been out of reach. You've witnessed wrongdoing, experienced betrayal, and called out for truth, only to be met with silence or dismissal. For years, you've carried the weight of knowing what was right, yet seeing no action taken. You've watched as others turned a blind eye, as the cries for justice fell on deaf ears. But despite the frustration, you never gave up. Something inside you refused to let go of the belief that truth would one day prevail. Now, you're seeing the first cracks in the walls of denial. What once seemed impossible is beginning to unfold. The very systems that ignored you are now being forced to listen, and the truth that was once silenced is finally breaking through. It wasn't just the silence that hurt, it was the way they dismissed you. When you tried to speak up, they called you delusional, a troublemaker, someone who couldn't let go of the past. You knew what you saw. You knew what you experienced. But they painted you as irrational, too emotional, or even vindictive. They sealed the files, locked the evidence away, and hoped you would disappear. Meanwhile, the injustice continued. The weight of it pressed down on you, making you question your purpose. How could you move forward knowing what you knew, seeing what you saw? It was a personal struggle that affected your relationships, your career, and even your sense of self. But through it all, you held on to a truth that couldn't be extinguished. Scripture often speaks to those who feel unheard and unseen. In Psalm 37 verse 6, it says, "He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday." This promise isn't just about personal vindication. It's a reminder that even when the world seems to conspire against you, there is a higher power working to reveal the truth. Your struggles weren't in vain. They were a part of a larger plan. The injustice you faced was not just a test of your endurance, it was a setup for a breakthrough. As you clung to hope, even in the darkest times, a foundation was being laid. Now, that foundation is becoming visible. What was hidden in the shadows is emerging into the light, and your story is becoming a beacon for others who have felt silenced. The shifts are undeniable. Courtrooms that once dismissed your case are now reopening files. Evidence that was sealed is being unsealed. Whistleblowers who were afraid to speak are finding their voices. You're seeing a ripple effect. One revelation leads to another and another until the entire system begins to unravel. It's as if the dam has broken and the flood of truth cannot be stopped. The very institutions that ignored you are now being forced to reckon with the facts. What was once dismissed as personal grievance is now being recognized as systemic corruption. The cries that were silenced are becoming louder, amplified by others who are finally stepping forward. Your story, once considered insignificant, is now the spark igniting a global call for justice. It's not just coincidence. There's a divine alignment at play. The timing of these revelations, the way certain pieces of evidence are coming to light, and the courage of those stepping forward, all of it points to something greater at work. This isn't just a human movement, it's a spiritual shift. Higher forces are clearing the path, ensuring that what was once covered up is now impossible to ignore. Synchronicities appear, connections that you couldn't have planned start to form. It's as though the universe itself is conspiring to bring justice, aligning people, places, and events in a way that no one can deny. What you endured was never meant to break you. It was meant to position you as a catalyst for change, a voice that couldn't be silenced, and a witness to the transformation now unfolding. As this truth emerges, you find yourself at a crossroads. The pain of the past is undeniable, but so is the opportunity to step fully into your purpose. This is where many falter, unsure whether to embrace the role they've been given. It can feel overwhelming, being the blueprint, the precedent, the one who endured so that others might find justice. But this is your moment of realization. You're not just someone who experienced injustice. You're someone who survived it, who stood firm in the face of opposition, and who now has the chance to lead others toward a better future. The truth isn't just about what happened, it's about what you do with it now. Now that the veil is lifting, it's time to step into your power. Release the fear that held you back, the doubts that told you it would never change. You're no longer the victim of a broken system. You're a key part of its transformation. Trust that the justice you fought for is now becoming reality. Lean into your calling. Speak your truth boldly. Connect with others who share your mission. This is your moment to lead, not from a place of anger, but from a place of conviction, compassion, and unwavering belief in what's right. Every step you take now not only validates your journey, but also paves the way for others to follow. Comment "Justice" if this resonates with you. Remember, the trials you faced weren't just about you. They were about shining a light on a system that needed change. You were the spark, the one who stood firm, the one who refused to be silenced. Now, your story is not only being acknowledged, it's becoming a cornerstone for global transformation. Stay tuned, because what was once hidden is now coming into full view. This is the beginning of a new chapter, where truth and accountability take center stage. You are the template of a new humanity. You may have spent much of your life wondering why you never felt like you belonged. No matter how hard you tried to conform, it never seemed to work. Perhaps you even blamed yourself, thinking that something must be wrong with you. But the truth is, you were never meant to fit in. You were not designed to follow the same path as everyone else. The friction you've felt, the resistance you've encountered, has all been part of a greater purpose. It wasn't about failure, it was about formation. You were being shaped, prepared, and refined for something beyond the ordinary. That sense of not fitting in wasn't a curse, it was a clue. A sign that you were destined to stand out, to lead, and to be a source of light in a world that often chooses to remain in shadows. The struggle hasn't been easy. At times, it felt like you were constantly swimming against the current. The more you tried to align with their standards, the more you felt yourself drifting further away. You faced rejection, misunderstanding, and even ridicule. People might have called you too much, or too different, treating your uniqueness as a flaw rather than a gift. This rejection can leave scars. It's not just the isolation that hurts, it's the constant questioning of your worth, your purpose, your very existence. You may have looked at the people around you who seemed so comfortable in their roles, so at ease in the system, and wondered why it couldn't be that way for you. But the reason you've struggled isn't because you were less, it's because you were more. The world wasn't ready to see it yet, but that didn't mean it wasn't true. John 1 verse 5 reminds us, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." This passage reflects a universal truth. The light within you was never meant to be hidden. Even as they tried to silence you, to suppress your unique energy, they couldn't extinguish it. In fact, their attempts to contain you only made your light shine brighter. What they called delusion was actually destiny. Your path wasn't about blending in, it was about breaking through. Just as the light in darkness cannot be overcome, your purpose couldn't be denied. Every challenge you faced was part of a divine process, strengthening you so that when the time came, you would be ready to lead others out of the darkness and into a new way of being. Now, the transformation is undeniable. What once felt like weakness is revealing itself as strength. The scars you carry are no longer sources of shame, they are evidence of your resilience. People are beginning to notice your energy, your authenticity, your ability to see beyond the surface. They may not have understood you before, but now they're drawn to the clarity and courage you embody. It's as if your existence has become a signal, a transmission that others can feel. You've gone from being the misunderstood outsider to a beacon for those who are awakening. The obstacles you overcame, the trials you endured, these were not just personal battles. They were the foundation of a new template, a guide for others who are now starting to see through the illusions they've been living under. As more people begin to awaken, your role becomes clearer. You're not just an individual on a journey, you're a model for a new way of being. What you've lived through, what you've learned, is now becoming a roadmap for those just beginning their own process of awakening. They see in you what's possible. Your courage to stand out, your willingness to embrace your truth, and your refusal to be silenced, all of these qualities are inspiring others to step into their own light. They look to you and see that it's possible to live authentically, to lead with integrity, and to rise above the systems that tried to keep them small. Your presence is a reminder that transformation is not only possible, it's happening. And you're the proof. Yet stepping fully into this role can feel daunting. It's not easy to be the one who goes first, the one who leads when others are still finding their way. It requires a level of courage and conviction that many shy away from. But you've already proven that you have what it takes. The very energy they tried to suppress, the essence they couldn't replicate, is what makes you perfectly suited for this moment. This is not the time to shrink back or second-guess yourself. This is the time to embrace the fullness of who you are, to step into the role you were always meant to play. You are the template not because you chose it, but because you were made for it. So where do you go from here? It begins with trust. Trust in your journey, trust in your purpose, and trust that everything you've endured was not only worth it, but necessary. Lean into your calling. Continue to grow, learn, and share your experiences. Surround yourself with others who are on a similar path, and support those who are just beginning their awakening. Understand that you're not just leading for the sake of leading. You're leading because your existence, your energy, your light, is creating a ripple effect that will transform the lives of countless others. This is not just about you. It's about the new humanity that's rising. You are a crucial part of it, and your willingness to stand in your truth is what will help others find theirs. Comment, lead, if this resonates with you. Remember, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, to shine, and to guide others into a new way of being. The energy they tried to suppress has become a force they can't ignore. What was once seen as weakness is now recognized as strength. This is your moment of remembrance. You're not here by accident, you're here by divine appointment. What they tried to silence is now the voice leading a new generation. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video, and comment, "I am chosen," to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. Close with a final catchphrase. They couldn't bury the truth, because you are the truth.